Okay, so I'm here with AJ Goin. He's a team pilot with Ready Made RC. We met this past weekend at F3 Expo, and just he absolutely kicked my butt in the individual races. It was awesome to watch him come back from he wasn't able to qualify. I think because your equipment hadn't showed up yet. Was that?
No, I had equipment. I had issues the day before in the practice for ThunderDrone. And I guess during the crash I had a lockout or something and ripped one of my antennas out of my satellites. So I didn't realize until Saturday evening that that was what the issue was. So I didn't get to practice at all or qualify on Saturday whatsoever.
Gosh, that's insane.
So I ended up, Scully let me in on Sunday. I basically got a battery in for practice before everyone started, and he threw me in, and I was able to come through the F main,
Yeah.
the A.
No, I mean, I was sitting there on the sidelines watching all day, and like, I mean, you started strong, and you just kept winning and winning and winning and winning, and you made it to the. So you took, was it 4-inch or 5-inch?
I tried 4-inch, and I was actually doing good with that, but the last lap, I believe it was, I clipped something and ended up wound up in a net. So
Ugh.
yeah, so I didn't make it anywhere with that, but 5-inch was the only other thing I raced, and
Okay.
that's what I ended up going far with.
Right, and you got second with that, right?
Second, yeah. As a matter of fact, I was actually behind. I knew I was going to push hard to try and catch up with Brian and Batu.
Yeah.
I knew my times were consistent with Batu, but I knew I was going to try hard to beat Brian. So
Right. Brian is insane.
And got lost a couple of times from hitting stuff, and was able to keep in the air long enough for Batu to crash and then get to where he was.
Yeah.
So that put me in second. And
Man.
But
that's insane that you flew one battery as practice and then did, was it 5 or 6 flights just, totally unpracticed, whereas Brian and Bapu and myself, I mean, we were practicing all day Friday and all day Saturday, and you just sat down and just dropped 6 amazing races on them. Like, that's insane. That's so cool.
Thanks, man.
Testament to
it was
how
fun.
good you are as a pilot.
I think I just lost your audio.
Oh, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I hear you. It's just a little. I can turn my volume up. All right, let's try that.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yep, that's much better.
Awesome. Okay. But yeah, so I'd love to have you introduce yourself. Tell me about like who you are, where you're from. Tell us about your dogs. Like, who is AJ Goin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just a normal guy, really. Found out I'm a nerd apparently the last few years, and just I grew up racing motocross my entire life, and that's
Really?
just what I've been into. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I had a few concussions, so I couldn't do that. But I really wanted to stay around the sport, so I started filming it and just making videos doing that, which led me to wanting to fly the 500 size helis.
Right.
And I saw some of Judd's videos a long time ago. That's kind of what got me into it, like 3 years ago. And I did that for a while, the 500 size helis, but it was nothing like it is now. And I got burned out pretty quick with it. It was kind of boring, to be honest. It was cool, but I just got burned out with the size and the cost of everything. And so I flew for about 8 months, and then I quit. And then I recently got started again. I think it's right at 5 months now.
Okay.
Since I started flying again. And I've just had a blast with it. I mean, watching all the videos online, it's really inspirational. I see all these pilots out here doing all this crazy stuff, and I just want to replicate that. And then I'm starting now to feel like I'm coming into myself and developing my own style and just really getting into it. And I just love it. But my job kind of affords me to be able to do stuff like this, where I can take my stuff with me every day. I'm self-employed. I do ceramic tile, mostly like showers and stuff like that. But
Sure.
so I'm driving everywhere all the time in the Metroplex here in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
That's where I've been born and raised, and so I get to see spots to fly all the time. So I never hit the same spot twice. There's just so many places to fly.
Nice.
So that's about it, really.
Cool. So you got started with 3D helis, but then you said that you've only been doing FPV, like racing kinds of things, for 5 months. That pisses me off. I have been working my butt off for 9 months, and you get out there and just wipe the floor. Like, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's not like I just got started. I did
Yeah.
have experience with the 500 stuff, so I've learned all about PSEs, and that was when CC3D came out, and so I played with that a little bit. Nothing acro though. It was all. That's right when the brushless gimbal stuff was getting on too. So that was my main focus. I wanted to be able to chase people on motocross bikes and film them. That was my goal.
Right.
But like I said, I got burnt out with the cost of everything, and you know, crashing everything, and then with this stuff, you know, you crash, it's props. You just sometimes it's a motor or something, and so it's not, and it's not something that. Oh, I've only been flying for 5 months. Well, I fly every day. I make it a point to fly at least, you know, 10 packs a day. If not, I'm on the sim or something. But when Ready Made RC picked me up, that really helped out because honestly, I was broke again, and I was wanting to fly, but I couldn't afford parts. So they were able to step up and help me out, and so now I try to get 20 packs in a day if I'm lucky. So that's where I'm at. So it's not like it's just 5 months. I'm obsessed. I fly a lot, so.
I'm super jealous of that. I try to find as much time as I can to go out, but you know that still ends up being like every couple days, and then inevitably some sort of technical failure kind of makes it impossible for me to actually get, you know, my 10, 15, 20 packs in, but so yeah, that's pretty cool. Tell me about your partnership with Ready Made RC. Like, how did you guys find each other? How did you like what was the process there? Were you introduced to them already?
Did you ask me about Ready Made RC and how they found me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They basically, I had made a couple of videos where I was starting to get good again, or good at acro. And so I started to learn about lower loop times and just how to make your quad handle better, you know, with PID tuning. And so I started looking at the F3 flight controllers. And I didn't really like the SP3 board just because of all the JST connectors and whatnot. So I contacted them for the Dodo bird, for the new F3 board that they sell. And so by doing that, they just happened to look me up. And at the time, I had just done a motocross video chasing with mini quads. And I think they saw that and some of the other videos and saw that, like, I do a lot of editing on my videos and put music behind them. It's like, I just try to make them to where they're fun to watch. I mean, a lot of people don't hate on people that edit their videos, but I just don't like boring spots. So I make a lot of cuts. So I think they saw that and they were like, oh, cool, this guy flies a lot and he kind of knows what he's doing. He's learning. Maybe he might be someone worth looking up. And so they contacted me and I was like, yeah, perfect time because I'm broke and I need stuff. So it just happened to work out and it's been great. I mean, with them backing me, it's just been awesome because I've been able to evolve much quicker than I could have on my own.
And you get to travel for big events like F3.
I'm sorry, what?
And you get to travel for big events like F3.
Yeah, that's been awesome too. I've learned so much from traveling from the last couple of events. It's been huge. F3 was awesome, just getting to meet everyone. That was awesome. And you know,
super intimidating.
I had my man crush geek going on there. So that was cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's been great, and they're an awesome company. Like they really put out quality products and they're quality people. And I stand behind them and what they're putting out. So it's been awesome.
I was past their booth a couple times at F3 and definitely was glad that they were there because they saved my butt in a couple places. So, and so how long have you been with them?
I guess I was just thinking about this the other day. I think it's been 2.5 months. I've been with them 2.5 months, somewhere in there.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty much right off the bat. They contacted me, and within 2 days, I think we had figured out that, okay, this is doable, let's do it. And then they asked me if I could do some events, and I'm like, well, luckily I'm self-employed, so I can make time for things.
That's awesome.
So that worked out good.
That's so cool. That sounds like the dream. So we are here to talk about ThunderDrone. It's kind of a new idea, I think, and I'm pretty excited about it. I think that there's a lot of aspects of what it was at F3 that I think is going to carry on into maybe even creating a new like rotor sport in of itself that people will want to go to. So, you know, we've got racing, we've got freestyle, and I'm kind of hoping and thinking that there's going to be another one. ThunderDrone, I think that's the name of this specific event. I'm calling it like Endurocopter or something like that. Something a little bit more.
NASQuad.
NASQuad. I like that better.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And so as a result, I'm kind of trying to figure out and write down why I'm excited about it and the kinds of things that are coming back to me. And so far, what I've come up with is that, it involves teamwork, unlike anything else in rotocross. It involves, I think it's going to drive some interesting innovations in technology and change in the way that we think about drone racing, and we can come back to that. I think it makes an awesome spectator sport. I think it might make a better spectator sport than racing itself. And I think that there's going to be some interesting ways that money is going to come through that. I think it's possible that, like with F3, vendors will get on board and say, we're going to send a team to this, and we're going to show why our collection of gear is going to beat every other vendor out there. I think that's going to be an interesting way in which the money is going to start coming into the sport in a different way. But I was only able to experience ThunderDrone at F3 as a spectator, but you had the opportunity to both fly and pit crew in the event, and so I wanted to be able to sit down and talk to you a little bit about your experiences as a pilot and as a crew member. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
So basically, I'm really excited about this. At first I was like, well, what is this? Joe from Ready Made signed us up, and we're like, okay, cool, we'll put together a team. We didn't have enough guys to do it, so luckily Andy Shin and his guys were supposed to go up there and do it, but they didn't have enough either, so we were able to combine with Shin Drones. So it's technically Ready Made RC and Shin Drones.
Right.
So we were able to get together and do that. When we got there, I didn't know what to expect. I don't think anyone really knew what to expect. We had some plans in the works, but we thought about the net. We were talking about it in Facebook for a while, about, well, we should get a net so we can just fly into it and take time on pit stops. And, that just ended up being a lazy thing where we didn't bring one or go and get one. So, but basically, it was a lot funner than I really expected it to be.
Yeah.
It was the highlight of the event for me, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not into turning left always.
NASQuad.
I'm opposed to turning left. I appreciate what those guys do in cars and everything, but it's boring.
Well, you're a motocross guy. I mean, you're used to flying through the air and taking left and right turns, huge banks and stuff like that. Why would you ever just drive around in a circle? Like, I totally get it.
But when we got there and we did it, I'm not gonna lie, the flying was a little boring. Mm-hmm. But when you get in the race, it changes. In practice and racing, that is completely different.
Yeah.
Your nerves are up. Everyone's yelling, pit, and it's just crazy, and it's a blast. Flying it is a blast. Pitting is a blast. Mm-hmm. From the strategy, that was probably my favorite part, was figuring out, it's never been done, so we evolved the entire day.
Right.
And it started out, we had a strategy, and we stuck with that strategy throughout the day. We had a chance to practice on Thursday evening because the ThunderDrone team could get in there.
Right.
We timed ourselves, and we were doing 11.5-second lap times, which I don't think anyone ever got close to that anywhere.
Yeah.
But we knew that we were only going to be able to do 5 or 6 of those at a time.
Sure.
So we knew that we wanted to at least be getting 12 to 15 laps on a battery.
Right.
So the whole day we stuck with that at least, to try and get fast lap times, but at least get 12 to 15 laps if possible. Mm-hmm. And we did that all day. And it started, we got lucky and had all of our issues in practice. Mm-hmm. So if there was anything to happen, we got lucky and it happened in practice.
Good.
One of those things being putting our video transmitter on and not powering up and testing first. And so it happened to be on the wrong channel. Oh. So we learned quickly that that's something that we got to do before we start. Check all the quads that we're going to be using to make sure they're all on the same channel.
Yep.
The other thing was arming issues. Once you power it up, it sometimes would take 10 seconds for it to arm.
Yeah.
That was unacceptable in our book. I think the second fastest pit crew out there was 10 seconds, mm-hmm. or 9 or 10 seconds. And, that was okay, but we wanted it to be set it down, go.
Yeah.
So Bapu actually figured out really quick that we need to be plugging our quads up as soon as we stay pit. We would do a signal. We had 2 guys over there flying.
Yeah.
And they would just switch off. And we also had a reserve over there, a reserve pilot over there. and then Batu was a reserve as well. My quad was still down at the time.
Okay.
But we knew if we just stopped the running back and forth, that would solve a lot of issues. Okay. That way there's more communication between the two people.
Okay.
And so whenever we would call for pit, we would immediately power up the next quad that was going. But the video transmitter was left unpowered. Okay. So then we had a person catching the quad, which was me, and then Batu was powering them up.
Okay.
So as soon as that quad even came close to the mat, we were already powering in the video transmitter on the other quad and setting it down.
So what you're saying is that you left the quad plugged. So as soon as you said pit, which means you're still up in the air finishing a lap, that quad would get powered on, and as soon as are you physically catching it? Like, is it like, how does that work?
Yeah, okay, so there's still one quad flying around. It'd be about half a lap when we called for pit.
Right.
And so Batu would be holding the other quad, and he would go ahead and power it up while he was holding it.
Yep.
And the video transmitter was left unplugged.
Yep. So
that was one of my responsibilities. As soon as the quad landed, or it even got close to the mat, they were just dropping it on the mat, and I was literally just catching it as it bounced.
Okay.
So as soon as he got close to the mat, he disarmed, hit the mat, I caught it, and unplugged immediately.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I could unplug, that's when the other guy could take off.
Right.
And
wow, that's crazy.
And so as soon as I unplugged, I also immediately unplugged the video transmitter, and we always triple check to make sure that the thing was never plugged in, because Batu was plugging up half a lap. We don't want video on when he's out there on the track still. So, but that like I said, that was able for that made it possible for us to be armed and ready to go as soon as the thing was on the ground. So Batu was literally setting it down as I was catching the other quad, and
that's insane.
For short pit stops.
That's so cool. It's awesome and I think that's a big part of the innovation and the strategy of ThunderDrone that's very different from racing, is that you're thinking up these new crazy strategies for figuring out how to cut down as much extra wasted time and getting back in the air and going as fast as possible. I think that's one of the big parts of this, is that now we're going to start seeing maybe people will start putting switches on their video transmitter so they can turn them on and off, and doing all this I'm so excited about the just weird possibilities that could come from turning this into a bigger sport than it is now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's a great point. We still don't even know all the other things that could possibly be done. Right. Detroit Multirotors had a great idea. They built purpose-built quads, with 5,000 milliamp hour 4S batteries, with 7-inch props, and very low amp draw. And, that was a great strategy. It's just we didn't realize at the time that we were going to be able to do consistent average 2-second pit stops.
Right.
Had we known that, we probably would have changed our strategy to running 1,300 milliamp hour, 4S batteries with 6-inch 60-45 bullnose props, and just try to turn as fast lap times as possible, because our pit laps, they had them timed to where we were literally coming in and we were losing about 5 seconds on a lap when we pitted, and 2 of that was us picking up and setting down. So the other 3 was just trying to get scrub speed and land on the mat. So had we known that, we probably would have just tried to run a bunch of 1300s, and who knows what we could have won by. So it was the first time. It's definitely going to evolve. It's going to be bigger and it's going to be better. And I don't think it could have gone any better for what it was for the very first race. It was a lot of fun. It was exciting, and I'm excited that we won. That made it better. It sucked for some of the teams that had technical difficulties. Like I said, we got lucky and had all of our problems in practice, so we were able to figure all that stuff out right off the bat.
Right.
It would have been awesome to race heads up with some of those guys. But we didn't know. No one kind of knew what the formula was, and we just kind of got lucky on it. And we did have some changes, though. We changed back and forth from props and from qualifying, and so we were actually faster lap times in the main than the qualifying, I believe, because we realized what we could do, and so.
What sorts of things did you change?
Yeah.
And what sizes batteries were you? What sorts of things did you change?
Okay, so the props we changed. On Ross's quad anyway, he was running tri-blades in qualifying. We ended up going, I think he went with 60-30s or 60-45s in the main. I can't remember, to be honest with you. Everyone had a different setup. There wasn't any quad that was the same.
Right.
But we ended up going with, I think he had 2200 4S. I think we had 4 of those.
Okay.
We basically did 100 laps on 9 batteries.
Okay. And when you're flying, are you all out, or are you holding back a little bit, or?
I think, well, for me in practice, I realized there was really not that much difference between 90% and 100%.
Okay.
So you just I think those guys
leave it all the way up and then just fly with the right stick.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was full throttle the entire time. I don't think at that point they were excited. And at one point I knew we were getting close, so I ran over there to see how many laps we had left, and those guys were just kind of like, hyped up, and I knew that they were full throttle at that point. So.
Oh man, that's insane. And did you? Oh shoot, I forgot my question. Never mind.
That's right. We were talking about how we were hyped up and full throttle and.
I guess that my question was, are you, when you have a technical problem, like, so you said that you had problems or maybe you didn't have this issue, but like, what happens if you go down? What happens if you crash and your quad is still plugged in and that VTX is still on? Is your team responsible for fetching that? I mean, you have the pit crew on one side of the football, like an actual football stadium in this case. If the quad goes down on the far side, who's running to go and plug that?
I kind of missed a little bit of that, but I think your question is like, what happens when you go down, basically?
Yeah.
Basically, you're SOL. You got to like take off running for that quad and hope that we actually had one guy spotting the quad the entire time.
Okay.
So if we went down, he could have told us where it was at exactly.
Okay.
To help the marshals. They had marshals around the track to help find quads.
Sure.
Unfortunately, the marshals didn't always know where they went. Okay. We got lucky with that too, where I was actually the only quad that ever went down, and I went down in practice. So we knew from other teams going down that you do not want to go down. If there's a chance that you may be going down on battery, just pull off, because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's catastrophic. Catastrophic if you go down on those stands.
Right.
The stadium was very unforgiving in the seats. So I think when I went down, I lost 3 motors and antenna. I don't even know what all I lost, but there were 3 brand new motors too. So
you crashed into the stands then?
Yeah, in the stands.
Oh man, because metal poles and concrete and hard plastic chairs do not make for happy mini quads.
Yeah.
I heard there was a lipo fire at one point.
Yeah, right off the bat, I think Daniel Sandoval, ex-hover, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he took off, and within like 10 seconds, he hit something, or a prop cut his battery. And, that was on Thursday night for the VIP fly around. Okay. And I think he kind of panicked and didn't know what to do, and so it got shaken around on the stadium floor, on the turf, and
on the turf.
We got lucky that nothing was damaged, because I'm pretty sure we were this close to getting kicked out of that place at that point.
My gosh.
So they were freaking out a little bit on that. I think they said it's not like they can just go in there and hole punch that specific spot and then replace it. It's all one piece, so they can't just. It was going to be an expensive mistake, but luckily it wasn't bad. Man. So from that point on, they figured out, they got buckets of sand everywhere and had a place to at least put it in to take it outside. It was pretty nasty.
Oh my gosh! Imagine like the headlines. Drone conference sets fire to Georgia Dome Stadium. Like, oh no, we don't need that kind of publicity right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that
they could have put it out within a fire extinguisher, not realizing that it's a chemical fire and it wasn't doing anything?
Yeah. Do you think that? Do you think they'll try to do it again indoors like that, or could that be too high of a risk now, knowing that there's the potential that these large boxes of high energy chemicals are flying around their precious stadium? Like,
yeah, I'm worried about that too. To be honest with you, I think if you put the right measures in place, as far as like they did, basically they got ammo boxes to throw them into, and some buckets with sand. I mean, I think if you catch it right off the bat, it's okay, and if you just make proper LIPO safety awareness, I think it'll be okay. It's mainly, there was plenty of places to put it. It was a panic situation, and it could have been thrown on the concrete over there. It was just one of those things where
it's like not knowing what
the first one, and you don't know what to do when it's the first one, basically.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. And that's the case for any new thing. Like, it's just figuring out, what is the process, what does doing well look like, what do we do in case of an emergency. Actually, speaking of safety, I wanted to ask a couple questions about like the pit area. I was sitting kind of on the sidelines watching, rather than being back in the stands. But I mean, there were a couple times where I was certain someone was going to get chopped in the face by a prop. So in terms of this event, what was scary, and in terms of future events, what do you see as being the next safety measures to prevent any horrible mistakes? I mean, luckily nothing too bad happened in this event, as far as I know. But this is a pretty high intensity situation where there's quads buzzing around all over the place. It's pretty likely that someone will get hit in the near future. How do you think we can prevent that and take good safety measures with future ThunderDrone style events?
Yeah, and I was a little concerned with that as well. It was kind of, everything was thrown out the window, I think, when it came down to winning $5,000. Even though the medical bills probably would have been more expensive.
Yeah. Do sponsored pilots have... Do what? Do sponsored pilots have workman's comp?
Yeah, right? No, I don't think so. I mean, the electricity was in the air. There was an atmosphere there that was really exciting during the ThunderDrone.
Yeah.
And so everything was kind of out the window. You're doing everything you could to win. The safety was a concern. There were a couple of times where there were some very close calls with everyone. I trusted my pilots. I knew what they could do. I watched them. I'm familiar with them.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too scared of those guys. And we actually pitted where we were for that reason, because it was away from everyone else. We kind of actually let them get closer to where they could have a hole shot. However, where they were pitted at was actually harder to land because they were much more closed off with other teams.
Yeah.
So we actually, being able to top qualify, were able to choose where we wanted to pit, and it was actually further back.
Yeah.
So we had a little bit of disadvantage on the start, but we knew we would make it up, so we didn't really care. It made it pitting easier.
Right.
That's something that does need to be addressed, though, is people walking into the pits. I think there needs to be more rules and regulations regarding walking in to get a quad and whatnot. They did try to do what they could as far as teams that did not take off straight up 10 feet before they moved forward would be docked one lap.
Okay.
The enforcement of that, I'm not really sure, because I don't think I saw any other teams land on the mat, but maybe 3 or 4 times total. So,
right.
I'm not trying to hate on that,
for those of you listening to this after the fact, the ThunderDrone event took place in a football stadium, and all of the pitting basically took place in the end zone or right around there, and you basically had teams kind of stacked along the end zone in a kind of checkered pattern essentially, and then Ready-Made RC's pitting area, which is essentially just a tarp laid on the ground, was significantly further away than the rest of them. So the rest of the pilots would have to come down, circle in, and land on their mat amongst a bunch of people, whereas the RMRC team and Shendrone's team could just kind of come in, land, boop, and then take off with the next one.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We actually, which I don't think that'll be done again. I don't think they'll do a checkerboard style like that. I think it should be one strip, and I think you should be 10 feet away from the mat while pilots are landing, then running in to get it. I was right on the mat. I was waving, letting them know where we were at, making sure, and then basically tell them to drop. Whether or not they saw me, I don't even know. I didn't ask them, but
they were probably so hyped up they couldn't tell anyway.
Yeah. I was just trying to get them to land as quickly as possible so we could get the next person up in the air. So, yeah, there's definitely some concern with the safety, though, and it's high potential for things to go wrong. But, it is what it is, and it worked out good this time.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Maybe we'll have to just start giving pit crew full fencing gear, people would use with rapiers and stuff. Get everybody in that, and they could just go and catch the drone out of the air.
Yeah, that's right. Put on some metal chain link armor or something like that. Drone
gladiators.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That's what we even talked about too. We were like, well, just get it on the mat. We don't care if we break props. Who cares? We can change those quick,
Yeah.
So if there was ever any question that we're going to go off the mat, they would just literally turn it upside down and power it into the mat.
Right.
So.
Sure. Cool. So I guess I had a question here that's already been answered, because you said that you all showed up kind of from different parts of the country. So I was going to ask if you practiced ahead of time, but so I'm going to change that and say, if you could, would you now practice for future events? Like, would you get the whole team together, sit down, and do a practice session together once in a while in advance of an event? And if so, what would you do in practice to get yourselves better?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, our team was from all over. We had 2 guys from, I think, Long Island,
Okay.
1 guy from Australia, Bapu's from California, and I'm from Texas. So we were all from really far away.
Yeah.
But as far as, I think in the future, we'd definitely like to get together and practice something like that, and talk about different strategies. And I posted some stuff on my Facebook, earlier, and people have already commented. It's like, wow, that's something that we should do local. We should try and do something like this. And so it's going to be something that's going to definitely take off for sure. It's too much fun not to be doing it at home.
Yeah.
And so it may just be something that we do as a team sport around town, and learn from that. I think it's going to be done again, probably at least one more time before F3 next year. So
yeah.
As far as I don't really know what to say other than it's a little uncost effective for us to get together, but other teams for sure would get together, I would imagine, and practice this again, because I see this growing into a bigger sport than some of the other things. It really was the highlight of the event for me. Freestyle was awesome. Of course, I had problems with freestyle, so that might be why.
Yeah. But I mean, there's only so much you can do with the freestyle. Like, it comes down to just you, and that's so much pressure. But when you can spread that pressure out across an entire team and kind of divide and conquer and rely on each other's gear and expertise, like that's starting from a place where you're aimed at success. And I think when you're doing the individual stuff, the only thing you're doing is avoiding failure. Whereas when you're working with a team, you're actually pushing for success, and you're pushing to be you're not trying to avoid the inevitable. You're trying to work together to achieve a goal. And I think that makes for like a much more exciting, positive, just great atmosphere.
That's exactly right. That was one of the fun things about it, I guess, was it being a team thing, and being able to, strategize with people and be, excited together and win together, and then celebrate together. That was a lot of fun.
You guys all went out for food afterwards, right?
Yeah. We went out for some food and a little bit of drinks, and it was a good time.
You got to put that $5,000 to good use.
I think the $5,000 was spent several times over, so I think we actually came out behind.
Yeah. But that's the fun of it, though. I mean, but that funds you to get there and have a good time and go all out and not just be cautious the whole time. I think I would be super excited to see this become a part of the drone world. Because, like, what if you had, like, you're almost bordering on, like, drone Olympics, where you have, like, the USA team and the China team and the maybe England team. Like, that would be so cool to see different countries compete in their different styles for ThunderDrone style events. Oh my gosh, that'd be so fun.
Yeah, that would be cool for sure.
So just to kind of wrap up, so we've talked about the way that it did work this time. We've talked about kind of some of the changes that we want to see. What do you see maybe as the future for this style of event? What are the next steps? What is going to become of this now that at least one event has gone successfully?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't say. I mean, I hope it's done in a similar fashion and more frequently.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I don't really know how to improve it. I mean, I haven't sat down and thought about it, honestly. I've just been excited about winning and F3 Expo in general, and getting home and watching my footage. So
yeah, totally understandable.
But basically, like, I think it would be cooler to not do just an oval, but maybe almost like a simple track. I think you can keep it simple. Yeah. But I think you keep it. You put some turns in there. You make it a little more interesting. At least one U-turn, maybe, or I don't know, something in there. Yeah. But or a chicane, something. But
because you don't want your pilots to crash, because that's a huge deduction, and that's not what the point is. The point is all in the quick changes and consistency and strategy of staying in the air. But maybe we could make it a little bit more exciting to fly too.
Yeah, because it does. It gets boring flying the track. I mean, I didn't race the whole 100 laps, so I can't speak for them for sure. But just the practice alone was just like, oh my god, this is kind of mundane here. But but it was still cool, you know. It's the racing atmosphere is what really made it fun, because then you get the pressure on you. Everyone's excited. I don't know if you watched the flight test video of Nick. Nick was racing, and he's shaking, and then you look up at the voodoo guys, and they're yelling, hit, hit, hit.
Yeah.
So you can just see the atmosphere. It was exciting, to say the least. So, but yeah, I think it needs to have a little more element in there. At least, like I said, a chicane, some more turns.
Yeah.
Still keep it simple, just something a little different, to where you're not just going left,
yeah,
and full throttle, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a blast, you know. It was done great, and you know, Joe Scully did a great job putting it on and announcing the race, and
he was fantastic.
He did awesome all weekend.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He did an amazing job with the individual racing, and listening to him during the ThunderDrone and stuff. Like, I mean, he knew names. He was ready. He knew who was flying. He knew which team was on which screen. Like, he had that down to a science. I was blown away with how well he did with all that.
He puts on a great race. He's great at what he does. He's really good with announcing, and knows what he's talking about. But like you said, he knows everyone's name, and if he doesn't, he picks it up quick.
Yeah.
So I had the pleasure of racing and meeting him the very first time in Canada a few weeks back, and I saw right off the bat, this guy, he should be announcing everything.
Yeah, he's going to quickly come to the top. Like, everybody's going to want him to come to their event, and he's going to be too busy to know what to do with himself.
He's good, and he makes sure it's fair for everyone. He gets everyone out there, and if there's an issue, he makes sure you get a re-race. Mm-hmm. He's just awesome. So I'm excited to see him host more events and announce more events. So
he's gonna like become the John Madden of FPV racing.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that. He's got a great voice, and like you said, he's quick. He knows everyone. He knows everything. Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
So yeah.
Well, I think that'll do it for me. Do you have any other any other things that you'd like to add to your experience at F3 with ThunderDrone, with freestyle, with racing? Anything in particular that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, not really. Other than F3 was awesome. You know, I'm glad that I had a chance to come on there and do that, and I'm happy that everyone showed up, and it was a pleasure meeting everyone, you included, and there's a lot of great people there. It was exciting to meet everyone and be able to fly in the Georgia Dome. I mean, that was pretty awesome.
That was really cool. I managed to get 2 batteries through, but my quad was doing some really weird stuff, and I didn't get my confidence up to try some of the tricks that I would have liked to try. But I got some good content, and I had a really fun time. I was sitting next to Jordan Temkin, who just won the IDRA race. And he's watching my feet as I'm kind of half flying around the Georgia Dome. I'm like, oh, this is great, but at the same time, it's like, dang it, I suck. But yeah.
Nah, just practice. We gotta get some practice in, and you know, like next year, hopefully it goes a little smoother next year. I mean, it's always hard on the first time, so it's only gonna get better. And
absolutely.
And I'm excited for next year.
Me too. Okay.
So.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time to get on a call and chat for a bit. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the interview, and I'm excited I got to talk to you again, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay.